Us, abandoned ship. We're not caring about this car. We're thinking about the next year.
Exit clauses, yada, yada, yada.
Hulkenberg is the blue shell right now. Angle grinder guy, he gets a raise.
There you go.
Whoa.
He gets both salaries.
There you go.
What are they doing with the 5th and 6th seats?
Yeah, it's just Weenie Hut Formula One Junior now.
They don't fire up the same way that F1 cars do.
Us, abandoned ship. We're not caring about this car. We're thinking about the next year.
Exit clauses, yada, yada, yada.
Hulkenberg is the blue shell right now. Angle grinder guy, he gets a raise.
There you go.
Whoa.
He gets both salaries.
There you go.
What are they doing with the 5th and 6th seats?
Yeah, it's just Weenie Hut Formula One Junior now.
They don't fire up the same way that F1 cars do.
Hello, and welcome everyone to another episode of the Tyred Boys podcast. I'm your host, Justin.
And I'm Aaron. Welcome back, everyone, for another week. We've got the Italian Grand Prix race weekend this week, so a lot of interesting stuff to talk about there. A pretty exciting race for me personally. So definitely a lot to get into here, but Justin, it's good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. After a long weekend, I think we had some great racing all over the weekend, even throughout the F2 and Formula 3 sessions. Some of those were pretty crazy compared to the F1 race. So yeah, excited to get into it.
Awesome. Well, we'll jump into the quick hitters as we usually do at the top of the episode. So run through a few of these real quick. But Connor Zilisch, who we had talked about joining Trackhouse Racing for next year in the NASCAR Cup Series, won the, I don't know if it's the final race of the season here for the NASCAR Xfinity Series, but wins his 4th race in a row now after breaking the collarbone after the first of this little stretch there in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. So just continuing that success here later into the NASCAR season. So now he's and he is the regular season champion. So he's been on the podium I think 9 out of 12 races or something like that on the year. So a pretty unbelievable season for the youngster coming on up in NASCAR there.
Yeah, he's got to win as hard as he can, so people just forget about him falling out of the window.
Absolutely, that's the only way to put that in the past. So we can give you a break on that. And then slide over to some MotoGP news that we have. So Gunther Steiner is leading a consortium that is buying full ownership of Tech 3 Racing in the MotoGP series. I think it was 2 minutes and 45 seconds or so into his first MotoGP official interview that he dropped his first F-bomb. So Gunther is back. I'm excited to see him back in the motorsports world a little more actively. And everything. So excited to see what he is able to do there with the Tech 3 MotoGP team.
Yeah, excited to see it. He's one of the characters of the grid. So yeah, happy to see him in MotoGP. That's great.
Yeah, and so that'll get me dipping a little more into the off-track stuff with MotoGP, just to check out some more of the interviews and things that Gunther's involved in. But the racing itself has still been just dominated by Marc Marquez in this past weekend's race in Catalonia. He goes on to win the sprint race, so stretching that to, I believe that was the 15th race in a row that he had won. He actually was not leading the race. His brother, Alex Marquez, was leading the race and crashed out late into the race, about a lap or two left. So he inherited first place, takes the win. But his brother, Alex, did win the second race of the weekend in the main race, with Mark coming in P2. So with his just unbelievable stretch of form, he has now won the championship with 7 races left to go on the MotoGP calendar. So a pretty dominant year for Mark Marquez, and to have extended that lead that far out is pretty unbelievable. Now this being his 6th championship in a row that he's won here in MotoGP, and his 7th overall.
Well, I think the unfortunate thing is going to be for the drivers who are mistakenly thinking he may slow down, may give him a little bit, but no, unfortunately, he's probably just going to try and win everything that he can. Like, oh, leave some golds for us, man. No, I don't think so. Even though he's got it clinched, I doubt that'll be him.
No, I agree. I mean, we there are some drivers who just have that kind of um, cutthroat mentality. They don't let off the gas pedal, as it were. Other drivers, you can make a case for letting up on the gas pedal a little bit, but not Mark over there in MotoGP. Then sliding over to some single seater racing with IndyCar, we have some bigger IndyCar news we'll talk about in You Work Here or Do You Work Here, but one of the big announcements this week was that Will Power will be leaving Team Penske for the 2026 season. He'll be going over to Andretti Global to fill a vacant seat that they'll have coming up here. We'll quickly get to, but into the Formula One world, Monaco Grand Prix has now been extended to 2035. So we don't have to talk about it every year. Like, oh, will they get rid of Monaco? I don't know. It like all these debates and conversations about it. We can rest and just rest easy knowing that those mega yachts and millionaires will not have their entertaining weekend taken away from them.
I mean, fair enough. I really enjoy
No,
the Monaco Grand Prix. Like, just overall, like maybe year to year, some are better than others. I understand the like Saturday versus Sunday argument. You know where I land on that. But yeah, happy to see that they locked in an extension.
Yeah, and the the mega yacht comment was just the Sky Sports graphic that they have of the Monaco Grand Prix extended is just a tiny strip of the circuit with just like 800 yachts just parked in the marina right behind. So yeah, I mean it's a great race. It's a very cool venue, and whether it's the history of it or some of the storylines we've had, there's always a good reason to watch, whether it's Saturday or Sunday. You never really know what's going to happen. You think you might, but Monaco has other things in mind over the years. So glad to have it on the calendar for a good stretch. But what?
Bro, you're hitting us with this like it's verbal art, man. You're hitting us with these like Monaco has other ideas. Like, holy shit, he's a character, Monaco. Bro, dude, I'm loving it. That's what I'm saying.
I've been taking too many broadcast notes. I've been watching watching a lot of motorsports lately. So definitely a fun event to have on the calendar. So looking forward to that. Like I said, not having to have all these conversations around that one specifically. I think it's a good circuit to keep. But the kind of biggest conversation here in the quick hitters is with Formula One and race lengths. Stefano Domenicali has come out and said that they may be interested in shifting and changing the length of races, and maybe potentially adding more sprint races and things like that. He feels like there are too many young people who are just watching highlights of races as opposed to watching the full races, and he thinks that just might be because the races are too long for us young people and our bad attention spans. So Justin, hit me with just some of your thoughts off the top of your head with this.
I think very similar to Fernando Alonso's take. His point was gold. He said, I don't think there's a problem in like European football, where they're not trying to reduce the 90-minute game time to a 60-minute game time. And that's a sport where they have, like 1.5 goals average per game. His point is, we're not sure or he's not sure the problem is with the sport. It's likely just with the people watching. Like if it's an attention span thing, I mean, yeah, like go outside, I guess. I would fear for a lower quality of racing if anything were to be done at like per Sunday races. But the notion of adding in sprint races, I mean, that sounds pretty interesting to me. I don't know how many more than 6 you get before it becomes like a um some type of off balance risk versus reward. But yeah, there could be things that they could do. I would be very disappointed in reducing race length. I don't feel like they're too long. The beginning, middle, and end of a race all have their flashpoints, tension points. So yeah, I don't agree with Stefano Domenicali. I think that's like weird.
Yeah, and I'm with you and Fernando on this and everything too. I think there was a good point that was brought up by a number of people. There were when I was reading the comments and the reactions to this, I thought there were a few really good opinions. I thought there were a lot of boomer opinions that were just like, yeah, these kids these days, we shouldn't cater to them because they have TikTok brain and all. And then there was the side from the younger people who's like, well, there's also some paywalls that are in front of watching the content. F1 TV costs money, or you have to have cable to get it on ESPN or cable to get it on Sky Sports and everything. So it's not like some of these other racing series that do provide free content, whether it's YouTube streams or other different free streaming. I think MotoGP's entire like streaming is just free to do, if I remember correctly. So there's like there is a barrier, and it's like if people are watching these highlights and everything, they feel like they can get the full everything that happened in the race and they skip over the slower laps. So they miss some good commentary, they miss different things. But I think that um maybe the ease of access of highlights versus the ease of access of actually watching the races as a whole might also play into maybe the numbers that they're seeing on the back end, that they're like, wait, why do we have this many people watching the highlights but this many people watching the race? And that, like, we want more people watching the full race and everything. So I feel like that's maybe just a misinterpretation of like the reason behind the numbers, and I don't think there's a need to change. The other good point that I saw was, and like you said, there's very distinct kind of sections of the race from the beginning to the pit stop windows to the end and everything. And if you don't have a long enough race, then you're not going to have the highlights as frequently or as much opportunity for these things to happen, especially in an era where these tires can really last for some pretty long stints. Like you're going to reduce the excitement of different offset tire strategies and things like that that you might see. I mean, IndyCar still has races that are 2 to 3 hours long. NASCAR has 500-mile races and things like that, and people watch the Indy 500 from start to finish, and that is a long race. But um, Yeah, I don't think the problem is with, and I don't personally feel like there is a problem. Like F1 is continuing to grow as a sport. It's still gaining popularity. There it feels like a bit just unnecessary with how the sport has grown over the especially recently, to make something a drastic change. It's like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Don't try to just squeeze more juice out of it. Just let it do its thing.
Big time agree. That's a very very astute point on the access bit there. Where you may have particular demographics utilizing the free freemium structures as opposed to, like you said, the F1 TV or the cable. Yeah, I think those are all good points.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of conversations that can be had about it, but hopefully they'll just kind of go through the thought process, talk to the teams and drivers, and just evaluate a bit more before making like a knee jerk decision on it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but moving along to the last couple of points here in the quick hitters, we've got there was a post that I saw where Isaac Hajar's third place trophy that he got last week was being remade. So someone will be getting him, similar to when Lando accidentally broke Max's trophy the other year. They're making a new one for him, and hopefully they'll add a little extra sturdiness to the middle there, or just put it in a trophy case where no one can touch it or break it. But yeah, just a kind of funny update, I guess, from that incident last week. But the final one is that in the off weekend this week for Formula One, Max is going to be driving in the Nürburgring Endurance Series. We had mentioned that it was kind of up in the air that he might, which would give him that opportunity to do the 24 hours of Nürburgring next year. So it looks like that's the case for him to get involved. So I'm looking forward to checking out a little bit of endurance racing, or at least I'll look for the highlights, Stefano. I'll see what I can find out there, and see what I can do.
No, you're the problem.
No, I mean I'll be looking to see if I can watch it live. I think it would be interesting to see him get out there. But we'll see. We'll see about how easy it is or what time. I really haven't looked too much into the event this weekend, so um, we'll have to. I'll keep you guys posted on my thoughts after checking it out.
For sure, for sure. Anywhere Max goes, Aaron goes. Yo, I was about to
I'm
put you on the
curious.
spot too. Is it the full Nordschleife?
I believe so.
Yo.
Which is like I think why Max is so interested in it. Like his like lap record or whatever he set in that testing session was long. Like it was like 6 minutes or something like that. So I'm under the assumption that they're doing the full like Nordschleife with it. Yeah.
That's so good.
So definitely an exciting event to check out. But to wrap out the quick hitters, we'll slide over to the next kind of interesting conversation to have here in Do You Work Here, where we had Cadillac, who we had announced Checo and Valtteri Bottas as their two drivers for this coming year, have now added their test driver to the roster, having Colton Herta coming over from IndyCar into Formula One as a test driver. I believe that along with his recent finishes in IndyCar will give him the testing like days and all should give him enough points to like maintain super license and everything, and then we'll potentially get to see him and his career in Formula One grow as a young 25, 26 year old who's proven himself to be pretty successful in single seater racing. His stats over in IndyCar, leaving Andretti, 116 starts, 9 wins, 16 poles, 40 top fives, 64 top tens. That's a pretty successful career for someone as young as him. Um, so I'm very excited to see just kind of that shift the other way. And I'm curious to see what kind of times he's putting out in these test sessions that he gets the opportunity to do. I'd love to see him in some practice sessions if they have him kind of slot in as that young driver in the testing sessions and everything. So, a very interesting opportunity for him and something I'm looking forward to seeing a bit more.
Yeah, I think every bit of news that comes out about the Cadillac project is just very exciting. I'm hoping for Colton Herta's sake we get a little bit longer of a stint as a test driver for them. You know, getting their sea legs going into FIA Formula One. I think is going to be maybe a bit difficult. So I'll be interested to see how long they are like holding on to their early personnel, right? And how much they're kind of leaning on the early hires throughout their first, second, third years. But yeah, for Colton Herta, like you said, for his career, very exciting pickup. Yeah, and hopefully we see him in some of those FP1s throughout next year. Because as we know, they've increased the amount of time that teams dedicate to the young drivers. So yeah, good chance we may see him.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even be surprised to see him at the end of this season in that postseason testing, the postseason young driver testing that they do. So that will also be very interesting to see with uh, some of these drivers. Oftentimes, the young drivers, like I imagine Behrman, Bortoletto, and some of these guys potentially getting opportunities to drive in that testing session. So seeing what some of those young F1 drivers and how they compare on times at that point, with if they get Colton in the car at that point. So yeah, a lot to look out for. The 11th team on the grid coming in will be. I'm just very curious to see how this shakes out. You and I have never been here for the addition of a entirely new team. We've seen some teams change names and personnel and whatnot, but this is kind of a different realm that we're stepping into.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to change much. Yeah, I really am imagining a smooth entry. Honestly, I bet it's going to be just um, like we probably won't even notice.
Yeah. Oh, I think more, I guess, on the side of just seeing how the organization, like you said, kind of their decision making, personnel, and all of that goes over this first couple of years, seeing a team go from practically nothing to being built up with all of these personnel, your team principals, your different engineering teams and pit teams and everything. There's a lot of new faces that I think will just be on the grid out there. And so, yeah, I don't imagine it'll necessarily make a huge difference on race weekends, but I think with all of this behind the scenes information, changing of personnel and whatnot that we kind of keep up with, we'll be able to follow that a little more closely and see how that development of the organization goes.
Sure, that's a good point. Like you begin to see them, the team principal, like they'll do an interview now. Now they're on the like on the grid walk with them and like all of these things. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, from that perspective, I understand. I understand what you're saying. We'll get to like meet like everybody for the first time. It's not like
Yeah, like
like
clean slate of
okay, okay,
like
yeah,
yeah
fair.
coming in.
All right, yeah,
So
I didn't think of it that much, but yeah, okay, I'm with you.
yeah, so I think it'll just be interesting to kind of see and watch an organization go from 0 to 100 and see what that looks like. But we'll slide over here now into the Italian Grand Prix weekend. But before we do, we just want to remind you, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share, tell your friends, join in the conversation, check out our link tree in Discord. We'd love to just have our community here with Formula One and chatting and following along grow. So we appreciate all of you and the time you take to be with us.
Best years in Formula One, we're living them right now. Thank you for joining and listening to the pod. So thank you. Back to the episode.
Sounds good. So hopping into Formula 3, the Formula 3 and Formula 2 weekends were a little bit chaotic, I guess, would be the easiest way to say. This is a circuit that even in Formula 1, we saw a few incidents. And when you have for Formula 3 about 30 drivers on the grid, not only do you have to have two qualifying groups to come on in, but just a lot of contact, a lot of missed chicanes, blowing through foam bollards and pylons, and yeah, just a little bit of craziness here in the Formula 3 weekend.
Yo, I love this circuit because when I was watching the early sessions of the weekend, the F2 races and these things, it's like every lap I was going back and forth saying, like, "Oh man, I love this circuit. God damn, I hate this circuit. Oh man, I love this circuit." 2 laps later, God damn, I hate this circuit. So, yeah, we had some wild racing. Unfortunately, I got to see some of my favorite scenes in open seater racing, where the camera is focused on one set of cars, and you just see another car or two sometimes just zooming past like where other cars were taking a turn. It's just the funniest thing to me. And the turn one chicane was like impossible for people to get right under like racing conditions. Like if they were going for overtakes,
Yeah.
it was very very difficult to get right. So yeah, we've got a lot to talk about for the feeder series here.
Yeah. So, and like you said, that first chicane was just brutal for people, including some of the best F2 drivers that we have on the grid right now. So a ton of people going off at that first chicane in the sprint race. We saw Stenchorn take the lead early on ahead of Tramnitz, just trying to push forward his points total here in the drivers championship and everything. He's up in P5 in the championship. Tim Tramnitz was trying to hang on to the fight in this last race weekend of the season for that P2. Unfortunately, with the sprint race, after finishing at the front, he gets a post race penalty and drops him down out of the points. So, unfortunately, no points at the end of the day there for Tramnitz. It's definitely a disappointing way to end out. Kind of be pretty well knocked out of the P2 fight right from the sprint race there.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. It's really tough for Tramnitz in that regard. Was it Stenchorn fighting with Tramnitz, or was it a different driver where they like overtook off the track? He gave the position back, and then immediately
Yeah,
was
that was
battling
just
against him
Stenchorn.
again.
Yeah. Yep.
Crazy. Next thing that was crazy was Wirtz. Three
Mm.
three cars wide trying to go into turn one. Bro, they pinched him straight up into the air.
Yeah, there nothing he could do about that. And that's the brutal nature of, like you said, of the circuit. It is so tight at some points, and with that many cars on the grid, there's just there's nowhere to go. Like I didn't blame anyone for like running wide to dodge out on getting hammered or going through the little weave your way through slow whatever slow down shortcut thing that they have. Um,
Mhm.
so definitely, um, yeah, just a tough spot, and for Wirtz to get taken out that way, that was pretty brutal.
Yo, and then what about our boy Ukachukwu with it was like early in the race, he got that insane oversteer when he dived out looking for the overtake going
Mm,
into turn 1. It looked like he just like flung himself into the pit wall and then he like
it was crazy.
reemerges and is just like right back going. I was like, what the heck happened? Yo,
He
that
like
sprint was wild.
yeah, it was chaotic, and that visual of Ugachukwu in the background as you're watching that first chicane, and you just see him come flying through. You there's the only thing you can think in that moment is, oh, dude's in the wall. But yeah, he just comes right back out. But very chaotic sprint. After the post race penalties, we had Roman Belinsky taking P1, Stenchorn in P2, and Van Hoopen in P3. So Stenchorn there, keeping his uh, just progress going forward here in the drivers championship with a nice sprint race. Someone that I think we'll see most likely in Formula 3 next year, and someone who could be um, probably towards the front of the pack with P5 in the championship this year. I think he may be a little ways from going on to F2, but I think he's definitely a talented driver coming on up through. But over in the feature race, yeah, the big highlight of this for me was our championship winner, Rafael Camara, coming through, picking up 25 positions across the feature race. Just a pretty unbelievable drive from him to go from so far down on the grid all the way up into P5. I believe he was starting in last. So a pretty insane drive from him there.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Unfortunately, in the feature race, the gravel got a couple of drivers. Ugachukwu got called out from, I believe it was like a rookie driver into Formula 3. It actually might have been his first Formula 3 event. Took some gravel or took like too much curb going into the chicane. He spun, kicks gravel up. Ugachukwu catches it. He spins. He's out. So I thought that was really unfortunate for the feature race. But man, what a battle between the top five, man. Between Intrapuvisak, Solov, Leon, Benavides was in the battle. He was making a bunch of mistakes and must have had some serious pace because it didn't end up costing him too much in the end. Maybe he dipped back a little bit, but he was still able to achieve a P4. I thought that racing at the front of the pack was epic. They were so tight, so close to each other. They're taking different lines, cutting each other off, doing the over unders, trying to hit each other with the dummies. Like they were within, I think it was like 2 tenths, 3 tenths, 4 tenths of each other all the way back. So super competitive at the front. One thing that I really enjoyed, and I think this was just like I think it was just pure coincidence, probably how they were trying to shoot it because it was early in the race. Going into the Rogers chicane, they instead of taking like a chasing camera angle, they just shot the camera up to its widest angle. You could see from like the entry or the exit of the Raja chicane all the way down to where the straight opens up from the exit of the other turn. You could literally see
Yeah,
all the cars piling down that straight before a bunch of them like attacked into the chicane and came out. I was like, this is just the best circuit ever. I was like, man, I love this circuit.
And then you see everyone flying off through the chicane and cutting corners and everything, and like okay, but no, like you said, especially at the front of the grid, throughout the race, it was some really good racing, and just good quality racing too. It was extremely competitive, but those guys who were at the front were all doing pretty well to keep things in good shape. Not any incidents or too much chaos there. Um, but a pretty exciting battle up front for the F3 feature race with
Hmm.
Intrapuvizak taking the win there. Nicholas Solov in P2 and Noel Leon in P3. And with that, we have the end to the Formula 3 season. So it'll be interesting, I guess, to see if any of these drivers get up into the F2 grid, or at least maybe some um, opportunities to, I don't know, start working with some of these teams that they'll be moving up to in the Formula 2 grid now that we have 3 race weekends left here for Formula 2. But we had Rafael Camara taking P1 in the championship, Nicholas Solov P2, and Mary Boya in P3, who didn't have the best weekend here at the end, but still finishing strong there with the 3 in the drivers' championship.
Now, do you have to bounce out of Formula 2 if you win?
Yes, if you win, so Kamara will have to, or for Formula 2 or Formula 3 or both, because both, if you win, I don't believe you're allowed to stay in the series.
Gotcha. Okay, so Kamara will be looking for a drive into Formula 2. Sorry, I must have misspoke.
Yep. Yeah, so he'll be looking to move up. I don't remember if he's already signed with anyone for Formula 2 yet, but 3 race weekends still to go for Formula 2, so I'm sure we'll start to get some of these announcements as we're especially wrapping out the season there, and we know what drivers are going to move on to other racing series and things like that from Formula 2. um, we've obviously seen a number of drivers move over to like IndyCar, Indy NXT, some of the World Endurance Racing and everything. So um, definitely we'll see some shakeups of those grids here. But Kamara, and I imagine a number of those top guys with Solov and Intrapuvizak and some of those guys moving up to Formula 2 for next year.
Very cool. Okay, nice. So we'll be able to follow some of these drivers, along if they're getting promotions.
Yep, absolutely. And I imagine some of them who their teams are in Formula 2 and Formula 3 will probably
Hmm.
shift up within the team. But like Kamara, I think he will have to look elsewhere. I don't believe Trident. Well, Trident does have their team in Formula 2 as well. So maybe he'll get that opportunity to stay with them. Um, I believe he's with, unless I'm losing my mind.
We
Yeah,
might all
Kamara's
be
with
losing our
Trident.
minds.
Yeah, so Kamara's with Trident, so he may have that opportunity to stay with them moving up to Formula 2. Um, Talking about the Formula 2 weekend, though, we had some similar chaos, a little less just with fewer cars on track, but in the sprint race, we saw Alex Dunn take out Kush Maini, pushing him off the track into the grass at one of the high speed sections of the track. We saw then Sammy Megatunif do similar to Alex Dunn and knock him out of the race. Alex Dunn had a pretty tough weekend when it came down to it, with getting knocked out of both races there, and also picking up the penalty points for that incident with Kush Maini. But Leo Fornaroli, championship leader, had a very impressive sprint drive here, taking the sprint race win. He was definitely one of the largest perpetrators of cutting corners throughout this race weekend, very frequently taking to the runoff areas and going through the foam bollards and everything at turn one. But yeah, one of the very good drives that we're kind of getting used to seeing here for Fornaroli in the sprint race, and extending out his championship lead there after the sprint.
Yeah, he was not going to let Bogdanovich get away from him in the sprint. It took him a whole bunch of opportunities. I think it was like three tries over, over, what am I trying to say? I think he tried 3 times on each of every, what am I trying to say? He tried multiple times on a bunch of laps. I
Yes,
I
it was.
I don't know how
Yeah,
I could have said that better, but you get what I'm trying to say. And he
yeah.
was just
So
very, very aggressive on his attempts. So yeah, I love to see it from him. And I'm pretty sure don't at the end of the weekend, don't Fornaroli win the team championship in Formula 2? I think they locked that up. I saw them holding some trophies, no?
uh let me
I may be
double
skipping
check.
ahead to the end of the book, but I was very excited for Fornaroli because I think that clinched it.
I am not 100% sure, because in the drivers' championship, he's got a 21-point lead, 3 race weekends to go. But Invicta is leading the championship, but they are not. I don't believe have it locked up yet. They're only about 30 points ahead of High Tech in P2. So
Okay, gotcha. Then I must have misheard the conversation. I was like in another room underwater, so I definitely could have misheard it. But
yeah, but still a very strong sprint for him. Arvid Lindblad had a strong sprint race as well. Definitely a tough circuit though, as that came back and didn't go quite as well for Lindblad in the feature race. But Joshua Dirksen as well having a really strong race, fighting in that front pack to make it up to the podium positions there. So really overall solid sprint race from them. But the feature race kind of brought a little bit more of that chaos. It was kind of like just spaced out a little bit better here in the F2 than we had in Formula 3, where it was just about every lap. But still, in that feature race, we had Arvid Lindblad have a pretty just for a race he'll want to forget. Locking up a number of times, hitting Dunn in the back, taking him out of the race. He locked up and went flying into Roman Stanek as well. Pulled a Valtteri at, I can't think of which circuit. I think it might have been. Ooh, I'm not even gonna guess, but I remember that one F1 race where Valtteri went flying through the middle of the field and
oh
took
yeah, and there were like bowling pins all over the
yeah,
runoff area.
just chaos there. So yeah, pretty rough one there. Sammy Megatunov crashed out. Fornaroli again locking up very often as he's going for his overtakes and running into these runoff areas. So pretty chaotic race in the feature. I think Sammy Megatunov's crash was like right as they were going from a safety car restart. Luke Browning just really held up the pack, and the concertina effect just had him kind of with nowhere to go there. So very interesting race.
I respect the approach though, because a bunch of them were slamming into that wall because when they slammed on the brakes, they didn't want to like hit the person ahead of them, so they
Yeah.
they were like diving off into the grass as like I'll take myself out, I won't take you out.
Little
So
seppuku.
dude, I mean, like you could count them up, the amount of cars that
Yeah.
like slid into that turn one wall, right? So yeah, wild scenes in that regard. Lindblad getting two people in one race was killing me. That was killing me.
Yeah, I feel for him because the second one, partially due to the first incident, his front wing was broken, missing a lot of the downforce from it. So, um, trying to make that right turn with no right end plate to help out on the arrow at all was it just did not go well. And like I said, there's so many drivers that were locking up again and again into these corners. Like that's very easy for these drivers to do. It's a tough circuit with the braking points and the high speeds and everything. But yeah, man, he just that is definitely one to forget about and move on from because that that would be haunting me for a little bit afterwards.
Yeah, he lost a lot of safety rating points. They're not going to be they're not going to have him leading the the CPR class next year. One person that will not ever want to forget this race though is Luke Browning, first win in Formula 2. That's got to feel pretty good.
Which is kind of insane for me with the fact that he is in P2 in the championship right now. He's only 21 points back from Fornaroli, 3 race weekends to go, so still a ton of points on the table. But to have gone through this entire year, he's had just so much consistency and consistently being up there, multiple podium finishes, but yeah, getting that first Formula 2 win is definitely exciting. It must have been all the gaming with Max this past week.
Yeah, just those Call of Duty rounds just easing his mind and helping him visualize the dub.
Yeah, just picking Max's brain on mindset and how to be locked in there. But no, he just drove a phenomenal race, pole position. Um, didn't it wasn't easy. He had some really solid battles at the front throughout the race to maintain that position, but going on to take the win there, pull the win was impressive. And the other really impressive drive for me was Joshua Dirksen on the weekend,
Hmm.
finishing on the podium in both the sprint and the feature race is pretty tough to do with the reverse grids and everything. So very impressive weekend from him as well.
Yeah, I was looking for things to root for in Alex Dunn, but he's been not having the best weekends. So yeah, I was just latching onto the Fornaroli hype. He was really getting after it this weekend. So the Formula 2 races were really fun.
Yeah, and 3 race weekends to go, so the fun doesn't stop yet. We've got Baku when we come back with Formula One in 2 weekends. Then we've got the last 2 race weekends in Losail at is that Qatar, I believe.
I'm
And
pretty
then we
sure.
have Yas Marina. So wrapping out so we've got Qatar, and then Yas Marina at the end of the year. So still some excitement, some good races to see with Formula 2, but the championship is not fully wrapped up quite yet. Still a good bit to battle for with the top 3 all being within a pretty decently close range there.
Very cool. Yeah, Fornaroli kind of with the upper hand going into the final rounds, but yeah, like you said, kind of all to play for.
Yep, absolutely. But that wraps out the feeder series second segment for the weekend. Um, Getting over to the Formula One section here, we've got the hot seat for the Italian Grand Prix at Monza.
All right, don't look at my notes now. I'm gonna turn on the hot seat and we're gonna slap Aaron into it. Are you ready? How well do you know Monza?
Uh, a bit.
A bit, he says. All right, let's get into
Could
it.
be a little, could be a lot.
If you're following along at home, we've got 5 questions, 3 multiple choice answers each. Well, except for question 5, you're gonna have to pull that out of thin air. But yeah, let's get into it. So, question number 1: the Italian Grand Prix and blank are the 2 Grand Prix that have been on the Formula One championship calendar every year since the inception in the 1950s. Is blank the Belgian Grand Prix? Is blank the British Grand Prix? Or is blank the Spanish Grand Prix?
I'm gonna go with B, the British Grand Prix.
You are correct. A lot of history here in the Italian Grand Prix and the British Grand Prix, but let's see. Let's see if you know the exceptions here. Question number 2: the Italian Grand Prix has been held every year at Monza except for 1980, where it was held. Where was it? A. Imola, B. Mugello, or C. Furiano?
Hmm. I'll go with. This is tough. What was A again?
Imola.
Imola. I'll go with Fiorino.
Damn. Damn. That is incorrect. Fioriano is the Ferrari test track that they don't race on.
Okay, gotcha. I was gonna go Magello originally, and then I was like, let me change this because I feel like it was one of those don't think that the answer that's your gut feeling is right, so you change you erase it, change the answer there. So tough looks, but
All right, no worries. Next one, Red Bull driver. You'll get this. Question number 3: what year did Sebastian Vettel set the record for being the youngest racer up until that point to win in Formula One FIA? Was it A, 2004? Was it B, 2006? Or was it C, 2008?
I'll go C, 2008.
You are correct, sir. Nailed it. The Italian Grand Prix treating Sebastian Vettel well. Now, question number 4: how many times has Ferrari won their home race here at Monza? Is it A, 12, B, 17, or C, 21?
Oh, I'll go with A12.
You are incorrect, sir. They've won a whopping 21 times at Monza.
Wow, that is wild.
Wow, they have Michael Schumacher. He won a lot.
That's fair. I just was thinking I didn't think it could be that many. That's so many. that is pretty impressive. 21. Wow.
Yeah, you thought that was the joke answer. Now, question number 5. Can you name the 2 years that Max Verstappen won both the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix and the Italian Grand Prix? The Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix is not that old, so I couldn't give you choices, but he did it twice. He won both of the Grand Prix in Italy.
2023 is one of them. And I really should know if it's this year or if it's 2022. For some reason, I feel like it's this year, but I'm second guessing myself. I'm going to go with 2023 and 2025.
You talked yourself out of both of the correct answers. It was 2022 and 2025. In 23, there was no Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. You tricked yourself.
Okay. I did, but all right. That's not too bad. I got half the answer, so I think I I earned 2.5 out of 5.
2.5 out of 5, not bad. You talk through some of them.
Percent.
That's not bad. All right, we're gonna learn
That's
a
fun
whole
though.
lot more. We're gonna learn a whole lot more from Monza for next year.
There's a lot of history to know for the Italian Grand Prix, like you said. So I'll have to, I'll have to do a little bit more research ahead of time for next year's Italian Grand Prix. But that wraps out the hot seat. Let us know how you did. I would love to know if you guys beat me, if you talked yourself out of answers. Just like myself, I feel for you.
Before we get into our winners and losers segment, can I just hit you with some of the silliest things that I encountered on the broadcast?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so well, this wasn't on the broadcast, but it was made from the broadcast. Some of the memes around this weekend were not that great. We had some bangers from the Tired Boys pod community, so uh thank you for those. There was one that was using this was not from the Tired Boys community. This was on online. Somebody was using like cat memes to do like a 50-second recap of like all the moments from the race. That one got me. I'm a sucker for a good cat meme, so that one was really funny. But bro, some of the most ridiculous things in like the broadcasts and from like the media pen all weekend were journalists just asking 3 paragraph long questions that just had either like no answers, 1 word answers, or they had drivers having to go back and like fully correct like what they said in the question. Bro, it is wild how much inventing, stop inventing, please, these people do, like talking directly to the drivers. And it's really tough when some of the drivers are actually willing to give like thought out answers about the race, about any session you won, about a team, about anything. Like they're actually willing to like talk and give you answers,
Oh yeah.
and you're wasting your time just being like, yeah, so hypothetically, if you were wearing green and it's the final round and your teammate is all out of fuel, would you make the same decision 3 times over the rice? Please tell me your answer. It's like, bro,
Yeah, it's pretty tough, and obviously, like you're 100% right. The question should be leading the drivers to give like longer form answers and not be, and in particular like harping on the same points again and again too. Like um obviously a guy like Max, if you ask him the questions the right way and give him the time, he will max explain the entire race to you and what he did and all, if you give him like the room to do it with a interesting lead up question. But even he, like you saw in the post race interview, I'm sure that they were just asking the same questions back and forth to Lando and Oscar, and he just slumped in his seat. Like, are we really like? Can I leave? Like, I've got my jet's fueled up. Like, it's ready to go whenever I get out of here. So, like, can we keep this going? Yeah, it's, and we'll talk about the reasoning behind, I guess, those questions with McLaren primarily in a little while. But yeah, I think there's a small part of that being a lot of these questions coming from the Italian media and just the translating to English and everything. I feel like in Italy, more than a lot of other countries, their media probably is very heavily in the Italian language. So some of these Italian media people, I think, are translating themselves to English and asking these questions, which end up being a bit wordier or maybe a little less fluid than they're expecting. But I definitely think that there is some room to improve from that angle.
Yo, that's mighty generous of you to say, and I appreciate that angle. Maybe I can come in a little too hot, but you're right. Maybe it is a matter of translating from their native language into
In small
English.
part,
Sure.
probably, yeah.
Sure. No, I think
But
I think that's pretty yeah, that's definitely benefit of the doubt. The other thing that I thought was hilarious from like the broadcast media angle, and this is less of a critique, I just kind of found it funny, is because of the gravel traps and the nature of some of the offs that we were seeing. It was so funny. Wait, if somebody would spin or go off, they would immediately just be like, "Who put the gravel on the track? Who did it?" They were like, they just immediately like, who ruined it for everybody? It was so funny.
well, and then they're going and show the commentators are like, "Oh, it looks like there's some gravel on the track at turn 3 or whatever," and they're like,
Yep, and
"Oh,"
they're like,
and then
"Who
they're
did it?"
going back and showing the actual replay. They're like, "Ah, it was Lando. Lando was taking it too hot into the turn." Yeah, that was definitely, and especially during the practice sessions, there were a ton of spins. There were a ton of moments and everything there. So yeah, that's one of those that's pretty amusing to see them go back to.
Yo, and I used to be like a big not on Alex Jakes's team, but I now realize that Alex Jakes is Formula One's biggest fan. I said this to you guys in the Discord, but the pool, he like David Coulthard was talking about some race that happened to him, and Alex Jakes just from the ether, he was like, "Oh yeah, that was 2008 Australia, wasn't it?" And even David Coulthard was like, "My lord, you're a machine." It was a really fun break the
Yeah.
fourth wall moment on the broadcast, but it really is like it's truly a gift to have a commentator who is so steeped into the history of the sport as well, that he's able to like pull results and like know
Yeah.
about individual drivers races within the context of like a larger race. So yeah, Alex Shakes is an absolute gift to have on the broadcast, and I now realize what I was missing out before when I was like, oh no, I'd rather listen to Brundle.
Well, it reminds me of like my awe that I was in when they did the Grill the Grid with Sebastian Vettel and were like, name as many Formula One champions as you can. And Seb just literally went from like most recent all the way through the entire championship lineup, no mistakes, back to the first year of Formula One, and I was like, that is just mind boggling. But yeah, having someone who is so just like obsessed with it, I guess is the only like, or is the best word in my mind to use. He pulls out some really fun moments on the broadcast. So I'm a big Alex Jakes fan as well.
The knowledge on this guy, he's the biggest brain.
Yeah, it's insane. So that was a pretty cool moment there on the broadcast that came up. But any other funny moments, memes, anything like that before we hop into the winners and losers here?
No, no, I'm excited to hear your thoughts on the race. Who were your winners?
I haven't had the opportunity in a while. So my first winner, of course, is Max Verstappen. It was fun to see like him have a competitive car under him, and it wasn't like miles and away better than the McLarens this weekend, but he just drove a phenomenal race. He had to battle it out, duke it out, but the some of the more or most impressive things for me was just the qualifying laps he put in, the fastest lap in Formula One history. I think Lando's P2 would broke the original record as well.
They just didn't
So
have time to say it.
they were just flying out there. Yeah, didn't get there before Max came across the line about 20 seconds later or so. Um, but the fastest average speed in Formula One history for Max, he just looked hooked up throughout the race weekend. Um, the pole position also has him kind of as the Red Bull record holder for just about everything now, because that surpassed Sebastian Vettel for pole positions at Red Bull. So he has the most races, most wins, most poles, podiums, fastest laps, laps led, grand slams, just the whole kit and caboodle. Um, of course, he's been there for pretty much his entire career with after a short stint with Toro Rosso, but um yeah, it was fun to get to see him battle it out. And I will admit, of course, that um I loved when Max was winning 20 races in a season, but this has been a much more interesting year with the competition and everything being back and forth and all. So I can't hate too much. I just have to take these moments when I can.
For sure. Yeah, the the relaxed nature with which Max would like field questions about his weekend was insanely impressive to me. In a weekend where he drove faster literally than any Formula One driver before, like in a timed event. I mean, we're just like, oh, but what about the dumb McLarens? No, like, bruh, what bro? Everybody was asking a year ago, like, yeah, but like, can he get better? I mean, like, you fall off. It's no, he's actually driving faster than he ever has. So
Yeah.
I find it so wild that we are seemingly pushing the boundaries of competitiveness in Formula One actively. Literally every
Mm.
year we've been like, this is the best year of Formula One.
Yeah, and I mean the record he broke was held by Michael Schumacher. Like it is a or I actually, sorry, I think that was for the fastest ever F1 race, which he also got this weekend. So I
Right.
think that was a Schumacher record. I believe the fastest lap in Formula One may have been Lewis Hamilton's fastest lap that he held the record at Monza up until this weekend,
Okay, gotcha.
if I recall.
Either
So,
way, bro is
yeah,
speed running.
insane. So that he another just wild stat that I saw was that Max is now guaranteed to have won at least 50% of all races during this ground effect era, where he is locked in 46 wins. All other drivers have had 38 up until this point, and there's 8 more races until this new regulation change. So even if he doesn't win another race for the rest of the season, he has won half of the races in this era, which is just like that's an obscene stat. It's like looking at Lewis Hamilton's like race wins during the turbo hybrid era. It's just mind boggling.
Yeah, dude, we're in an era of freaks.
Yeah, some unbelievable athletes. But what who did you have for your first winner here on the weekend?
My first winner was Max.
Okay, so who
For
was your
pretty much all of
second
those
winner?
reasons. Yeah, my second winner is Williams. I was overall
Okay.
impressed with their weekend. I thought Albon did a really good job, just overall ramping up throughout the weekend. Decent qualifying position, and then improved upon it on Sunday, which like to me I just think is huge. What I will say about Williams though is I think there's a bit of an asterisk here. Do you believe this is like a genuine question for you? Do you believe Carlos Sainz is easily discouraged?
Um, I wouldn't say easily. I think at the moment though he is in a slump. And not necessarily like due to any major part of his own. I think it is probably a bit of a struggle from being going from being up in Ferrari, battling at the top of the midfield, battling in the top 3 to 4 teams and everything, to all of a sudden be down in the midfield in a new car that you're still like it takes time to get used to the car, and Williams has also kind of shifted all of their focus to next year. So a car that he's struggling with is not getting any upgrades. It's not getting any improvements and all across the rest of the year. Um, and then of course he's had just a number of unfortunate incidents, whether no matter how much part he's had to play in it, he's had a number of just contact with other drivers and damage to his car where he's kind of left losing lap time in a number of races. I think it's been more of a build up across the full year of just bad luck and a little bit of a struggle that he's now a bit down in the dumps, it seems, and kind of pretty pessimistic.
Yeah, he seems to be making like too many like racing errors, and when one happens it feels like more precipitate after that as well. So yeah, I appreciate those thoughts. So maybe a bit of a slump. Yeah, I think I could agree with that.
Yeah, and especially recently, I can understand him being frustrated. Like last week, and Williams Act came out and made a statement that they had appealed his penalty for the incident with Lawson last week because he also received 2 penalty points there for that incident, even though the stewards wouldn't talk to them after the race. A lot of people were like, wait, like, including Carlos was like, wait, I got a penalty for that? Like, what
Mm-hmm.
is going on? Um, so I think he has had just a number of things not go his way. And yeah, at this point, um, I'm sure that he's just itching to get through the rest of the year. I mean, he's down, I think, in P17 in the championship at the moment or something like that, which is not what I would have anticipated from the beginning of the year or just with him in general. Um, so yeah, it's definitely not where he would want to be. He is P18 in the championship at the moment, tied with Ollie Behrman in
Mamma
P17.
mia. Oh no.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, he is learning a new car and they're and they're not making it any better for him. So he's kind of just stuck with a difficult car to drive, it seems. And Albon's been there for long enough now that he's figured it out pretty well. But um, Albon over the past couple of years was not having such a run of form either in that car. So
Fair. That's very fair. I'm curious. Next to Max, who was your second winner?
my second winner was Hajar. So really a brutal qualifying performance that he had. Um, ends up starting from the pit lane, but goes from the pit lane all the way up into the points, finishing P10. It just speaks again to like how good of a season he's having, especially as a rookie. He talked about how he felt the car had really good pace going into the race weekend, even though he was starting from the back of the grid. But he just was able to put it together and drove just very, very well to make his way up there into the points before the end of the race weekend.
Yeah, I strongly considered having Isak as a potential topic of conversation. Was really impressed with his race weekend. So yeah, I think that was a great shout. I'm curious, who do you have on your loser side?
So my first losers, and I lumped them together because it was just kind of unfortunate for both of them. But I had Fernando Alonso and Nico Hulkenberg. Nico Hulkenberg's family coming to the race weekend. I saw pictures of his wife and his daughter and everything, all excited, gung ho before the race weekend, and then during the formation lap coming around, they he gets the message over the radio that he was going to have to pit and retire the car. And could just hear it. He was like, are you joking?" And they're like, "Nah, man, like retire the car." And then for Fernando Alonso, like I don't know how many people we saw go wide on parts of the circuit throughout this weekend, but he goes on the curb just a little too rough, I guess, and his car front suspension just breaks just from rumbling over the curb there, and not anything that other drivers weren't doing. Just kind of a another little bit of bad luck to throw on for Fernando's season, where he's just had a lot of unfortunate retiring of the car or DNFs on the weekend. So yeah, tough weekend for two of the veteran drivers here on the grid.
Yeah, I was pretty disappointed for Nico Hulkenberg as well. With the hydraulic failure there before the race. Recent run of form shows good performances are possible. They're able to get points as well. When you factor in Bortoletto's race. So yeah, difficult for Sauber because you just feel like they're in a weirdly good position here at this time of year. So you just want to see him be able to do as good as possible. And Hulk didn't even get the opportunity to play.
Yeah, and I felt that similarly, even though Alonso was out there for I think it was maybe 20 25 laps or so, it's just a tough way to have your weekend end. Just again to no fault of his own, really, in my opinion. Like,
Hmm.
I imagine if he had been told to stay off the curbs or something like that, that he would have tried to do that a little bit more. But yeah, just a bit of bad luck for both those guys. And so, who was your first loser here for the weekend?
Sauber and Nico Hulkenberg. So I'll give you my second
Oh, okay.
one.
Sounds
Kimi
good.
Antonelli. I feel like really struggled just over the weekend in general, and then as well in the race. His qualifying, he did all right in the qualifying, making it into at least the Q3 session, same as his teammate, but after a mistake early in the race, he sets himself back. He feels like he's on the back foot. So racing with very little confidence, gets the black and white flags for track limits, and then ends up netting himself a penalty. Not really in chaotic positions, just maybe just overdriving the car a little bit. So again, another tough Italian or another tough Grand Prix in Italy for Kimi Antonelli might be the best way to think about it. So yeah, I think he's having some tough weekends.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm glad to see he picked up a couple of points there. But yeah, this is a circuit that if you do make a mistake, it's not the easiest to pass on. The passes that we did see, people are looking at and going, "Oh my god, this is like one of the best passes of the year," kind of thing. With some of the battles throughout the grid, and so yeah, kind of putting himself in a tough position. It just makes it really difficult to get through here, and the high speeds and all the Mercedes just didn't seem like it had quite um, enough pace to really battle their way up through it all. Unfortunately, everyone stayed and kind of started to just slowly spread out a bit more across the grid with the times throughout the race. So not as many people moving up through the field.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Who's your last loser there?
So my last loser here for the weekend was Ollie Behrman. He has his incident there with Carlos Sainz, and this is kind of just one of those. Uh, and looking at the Sainz Lawson incident and all, you're like, okay, that could be a racing incident. I would say pretty similarly with this one. Like there were kind of a little bit of fault on both drivers' sides, in my opinion. Like, yes, Carlos's front axle was ahead by the chicane or whatever, but he did not give Behrman any potential to make it through that corner. Um, at the speeds they're going, there was just no shot. And I think from Behrman's side, yeah, you're on the inside. You want the guy to give you space and everything, but you I don't feel like we were seeing two of these big Formula One cars going side by side through that chicane really at all this weekend. So Behrman probably could have been a little bit more like, okay, he got me. Let me try and back out here. I still don't know if that would have done anything because the breaking points are so late. But I would have probably gone and called that a racing incident. They both continued on with the race after that point. But with uh, that penalty, the 2 penalty points, he's now up to 10 penalty points out of 12. Like he's potentially on the verge of a race ban here. And I'm not entirely sure when he starts to have some of these penalty points fall off his license.
Probably not till this time next year.
I would think he might get some a little bit sooner because he had the couple of races last year. So I
Okay.
think maybe he had picked up some points in last year's penalties or in last year's races, but yeah, I think most of them probably are for this year. So he'll have to be very uh, cautious to not become the reincarnation of Kevin Magnussen over in Haas.
Yeah, he just has to stay away from Liam Lawson and Carlos Sainz. Wait, Carlos Sainz thinks you're supposed to stay away from Liam Lawson. Holy.
Yep. It's gonna be tight for him through the rest of the season to be able to make it through. I think like there's just a lot of these drivers that are having incidents in that midfield and everything when people are battling so closely, and especially with the constructor standings being as tight as they are, I don't think drivers are going to be willing to give up an inch to each other, which we of course are saying. I mean, from Haas has 44 points up to Aston Martin with 62. There's definitely some room for things to shift around there in that midfield section of the grid. So it's yeah, I think Ollie just with that on the weekend, even though I don't think it necessarily is fair, just a bummer for him, and so that's why he's my last loser here on the weekend.
Ollie Fairman.
That's good. Ollie Unfairman.
Nailed it. That's even better. But yeah, those are the winners and losers from the weekend. Yeah, I think they're maybe some up for debate, but yeah, I was happy for your thoughts on Carlos Sainz. I think those were yeah, I think those were good points.
Yeah, and I mean, I like Carlos a lot. I hope that he can kind of get out of this slump. It's just, I think it's tough to do until they start working on the car. So it may unfortunately linger through the end of the season here, but you never know. With Albon having some good finishes, he might have uh get a little bit of form going here for the last few. But the other big conversation that I think is going to be interesting to kind of get into a little bit is with the McLaren boys. We haven't talked much about them so far on the race segment here, but a just weird scenario, and it comes after the two of them drive a pretty like impressive race. Not many mistakes or any really from them. Lando gets a really good start off the jump, gets past Max right at the first chicane. Well, maybe not right at the first chicane because Max cut it and had to give up the position back. But Lando drove a phenomenal qualifying, a very strong race, and then the only thing that anyone is talking about now is papaya rules and team decisions and inventing. And so I find it McLaren was almost one of my losers this week because of all of this well, like from the team perspective, just like all of the backlash and kind of questions that are getting thrown out now because of one decision in the race to swap positions around. Um so what are your thoughts on this? Like how do you feel about as our resident McLaren man, how do you feel about the decision one to swap things around? And then kind of as what a lot of the media has been talking about, like what precedent do you think that sets? Or do you think that that doesn't necessarily set a precedent moving forward, that they're like each scenario is unique with how we decide to handle it?
So, a couple things. I really wanted to hear them beg Piastri more. It was really fun the first time. I wanted to do it again. That
So okay, so if they should have really just been like, Oscar, remember Hungary 2024?
mhm,
Oscar, come on,
mhm.
Oscar. Oh, please, pretty please. We'll give you ice cream after the race.
With cherries on top. Yeah, I
um,
wanted to hear more begging. But no, truthfully, I believe it's an interesting call to make based on the assessment given after the race by Lando and Oscar. It sounded as though for their camp, it was kind of a non-issue. Whatever precedent the media is alluding to is some imagined scenario where Lando and Oscar have guns pointed at each other, and it's like, yeah, you got to let him shoot because, we rubbed your back or whatever it was, right? Like, it's some weird hypothetical scenario that the media is imagining that sometime in the future the championship's going to come down to it and Oscar, he's going to hop out of the car and punch Lando in the face and he's going to win the championship. Like that's what they're like inventing, right? But
yeah,
I'll say this, Oscar said something that speaks like literally to my core.
okay.
He said, we don't care about just winning one race. He said, we want to put ourselves in a position to win as many races as possible. This type of thinking is like unfathomable to the media. They're like, wait, but you guys don't just want to punch each other into the head till one of you dies? What do you mean? That's how we've done it for 75 years. But Oscar's view, and it sounds like the view of the McLarens, is we should treat each other on any given weekend with respect and fairness because you still have to be their teammate on Monday morning, right? You still have
Yeah.
to like be able to talk to them. Think of all the animosity that's happened at specifically McLaren before, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And everybody just wants this again. But the view that these drivers have and the team has is actually no. If we get them in a position where they can make these really tough calls and have the team come first and driver second, there is this push and pull. There's this little bit of compromise that can happen where, like Oscar said, there's a scenario where the team can help rectify something that went wrong. So if it's truly like to win as much as possible across time, bro, I'm about it. That speaks to a type of mentality that it doesn't feel like many of the other teams are like trying to foster, even want to foster or whatever. So just the fact that they're like making a go at a different type of paradigm, and it seems like they're doing it okay. So from that angle, I'm okay with it. I didn't really have a problem with it. The
Okay.
one thing that it does unravel is the illusion of the like two sides of the garage battling. That's the only
Hmm.
illusion that it breaks down. It sounded like, based on Oscar's reaction, previous to it actually happening, they may have imagined like, hey, if something goes wrong in the pits, like that's a part of racing. It sounds like that was something that was easier said than done, where when it actually came to it, they were like, oh fuck, that actually feels really bad. Let's try and rectify this and then we'll talk about it. That's the one thing that sticks out to me is like, okay, so it's really not the garages battling. You are trying to facilitate clean, fair racing that happens on track. Okay, cool. If these are like the new kind of rules of engagement or whatever, I'm totally fine with that. Is there a feeling of like positions being handed and whatever? Like, not really, bro. Not really. If anything, like I'm kind of on the side of McLaren. Like, okay, so what do you do now? Do you just go and fire that pit guy? Does Lando get to go yell at him, or do we all just have to sing "Kumbaya" while these guys like with nothing to be done about it, right? You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I
I
now
appreciate that.
now you see
Yeah.
why I started with the media pen craziness, because we're
Yeah.
focusing on this non-issue of team orders, where team orders have been happening for 75 years, by the way, when Max is literally driving the best that anybody has in history, and we're like,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah. I will say, in my mind, I don't think it changes. It actually doesn't like mess with the sides of the garage like fighting against each other because the pit crew does the pit for stop for both guys. There's not an Oscar pit crew out there with tires, and that like when they double stack, like it's always the same dudes out there doing all the pit stops. So like I agree. I think that like it was just an unfortunate circumstance. I think that it was just a little wonky in general because they I feel like one of McLaren's errors with these rules to some extent, rules of engagement, is just that I think they leave it a little too choose your own adventure sometimes for the drivers. Like they should have either said, Lando, we want to cover off Leclerc or whatever, and so we think we should pit Oscar first just to make sure we secure the double podium. Like, like that's what we're doing. Or are you cool with that? Not, hey Lando, so like Oscar might get caught. We kind of want to cover off Leclerc, but like, are you cool if we pit Oscar first? And Lando's like, well, like, yeah, like pit him first. Like, they're leaving this decision to Lando a little too much. They're making it a little too like vague when in reality they could have been like, hey, we think we're good. We want to do this to be safe. You cool with that? And just like make the decision a little bit more straightforward in some of these instances. Um, but the other question I guess I have, because I felt like the thing that was the most that I thought about the most is these two drivers are fighting for a world championship. Does the lack of being cutthroat maybe on Oscars and for giving up this position, like, do you think that either of these drivers lack in some of the qualities of being a truly great world champion because they are not going for the jugular at every moment, like Max not being willing to give up a place to Checo to hold on to P2 in the championship when he had already locked in the world championship, or Lewis backing up Nico Rosberg into the clutches of Vettel and Verstappen to try and uh, win the 2016 world championship on the last laps of the last race of the season, or some of these other drivers that seem to like just go to the ends of the earth. Like, I don't care who my teammate is. I mean, Lewis and Nico's relationship has never been the same. And I think that's where, for me, I don't know if that, like, it doesn't make whoever wins is the world champion. Like, in my mind, that's how it is. But there are a lot of these conversations of them being a different, um, maybe different cut of world champion because they are willing to fight relatively amicably.
Yeah, no, I don't think it makes them any less like hungry or whatever. I think if it was not between teammates, you would see very different sides of Lando and Oscar. Like, the only reason they're fighting amicably is because they are teammates. And what they're saying is like one win or one champion doesn't mean like it to them it is not worth burning everything down around them to hoist one trophy. They want to hoist multiple trophies, and to do that you actually kind of have to do it together, and it
Yeah.
seems like they understand that. Like if you look back on your life, is it cool that you treated each other so abhorrently on and off track that you actually can't have a relationship with this person? I don't know if you look back and that's cool. I don't know
Yeah.
if you look back
I,
and realize the animosity between two teammates led them to drive so on the edge that, right?
yeah.
So I think we're entering into an age where, okay, all right, think about it this way. Think about it this way. You've got to be so short-sighted if all you're thinking about is one championship.
Oh, yeah.
Lewis won 7. Max
Mhm.
has 4 and he's still going. Fernando has 2. He's still on the grid. So there are multiple examples of, if I play my cards right, we can go again and again and again,
Mhm.
baby. Why, like, put your teammate into the wall over and over and over in the name of competitiveness when, like, yeah, but the team's just going to kick you out if you do that, right?
Yeah.
They're
Well,
saying
and
like it's up to the team. Like, the team is why we're here. We don't have a drive if it's not for the team. So you're like you're
yeah.
biting the hand that feeds you if you're going to attack your teammate as though he's another.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I'm more posing the question because I had kind of come to the conclusion that you did as well a little bit, thinking over this over the past couple days and all of the craziness and conversations. I'm like, I was kind of like, Well, like there were a lot of people going, "Oh, like if Max was laughing about it on the radio during the race. He was like, "Wait, they swapped positions? That's crazy." And GP's like, "We're just gonna focus on our own thing, Max. Here, let's keep it moving," which is fair,
Yeah.
but like just I think after seeing like the two most recent world champions in Formula One are both like not willing to give up an inch. Like Max 100% would have not given that position back if he was in Oscar's shoes. Um, Sebastian Vettel with Mark Webber and I can't think of the code word that they had or whatever. But like Seb Vettel was told to give up the positions to Mark Webber and he refused. Lewis Hamilton, I don't think in the a tight championship fight would have either. So I can understand why some people's perspective would be like these guys don't have that like cutthroat mentality. But when you come down to it, you're right. Like these guys are both locked into they McLaren said multi-year contracts. Both of them I think are there through like 2028 maybe or something like that with these extensions. Like they've got minimum like 3 more years as teammates like and to blow up a team that is doing well for with drama and driver fighting and everything like I completely think that's the right decision. I agree though that Oscar should have made them beg a little bit. Just like make them like just go one extra. They're like,
Mm-hmm.
let him through on this straight and just take it one more lap around. Like
Mm-hmm.
get a couple more radio messages to be like, because it was like if just like last race, like they weren't like Oscar's car died or Lando's car died, Oscar. Can you just we're gonna retire the car. Like they're not doing anything
Fairness to a
insane. They're
fault.
not yeah, and that was like the more of the memes that I saw about it that they're like people are like the precedent that this sets is like this guy's according to that Oscar should have retired at Zandvoort and like all of these kinds of silly kind of conversations about it. I just yeah, I would have preferred to see Oscar make him ask twice at least. I know he's a nice guy, but
Or three, I'd start
yeah.
laughing at four. But okay, here's where my McLaren fanboy does not run so deep. I'll give you all the cope in the world for the teamwork. I emptied my tank on you right there. But here's what I will give you. The waiting 57 laps for a safety car strategy, bro, miss me with it. I have better things to do, dog. That shit is boring.
Yeah. Um I agree. I think I mean we even had a couple of the other team drivers that like I think they forgot that Ocon needed to pit before that. They were like, "Oh, it's the last lap. Oh, crap. Yeah, come on in, buddy." Like at that point like waiting till the last lap for a safety car. Also, how are you driving an entire race on one set of tires? Pirelli, come on, people.
That's what
But
I'm saying.
yeah, like that. I I was losing it. I had a moment of being like, this isn't actually happening to me, right? I'm watching Max drive just an insane race. He like Lando gets past, he passes him back. He's stretching the lead. He's just running away with the thing. And then Behrman and Carlos hit each other. I'm like, is the safety car thing gonna actually happen? No, not like this. Um, but yeah, I think that it does make for kind of boring racing at that point. But yeah, tires shouldn't last that long, man.
Yeah, give us super softs or like mandatory stops or something.
Yeah, what happened to finishing races on 3 tires? Like, give me some of that back.
Formula One used to be so good, man.
I
Uh,
want I want I want the marbles to just be like when you're driving down the highway and you've seen a tire from a 18 wheeler just like all shredded down the side of that. That's how these tires need to be falling apart. Come on, Pirelli, what can you do for
barely
me?
3 laps on a set of hards. Come on, make it exciting.
Yeah, they need pit stop practice here, clearly. But yeah, I think you have the right idea, and I think McLaren does too. Like they won the constructors championship last year from working as a team to put together this car, from getting feedback and having two strong drivers in the seats, to go from being like in the dregs at the start of last year to winning the constructors championship, and now this year they are like have more than double the points of P2. Like, this is looking like it's going to be probably the most dominant um constructors championship we've had in a long time, which is hard to imagine after Red Bull like was winning everything. um like they have a massive lead here in the championship, and I think pushing the team forward makes sense. um it will be interesting at the end of the season to kind of weigh out though those decisions and things like that. Like, if Oscar does lose by whatever the point difference was here for swapping things around, if he loses by less than 3 points to Lando in the championship, um, of course this conversation will come back up. But for the meantime, we've got plenty of races to go, and plenty of time for the two of them to duke it out here.
Yeah, Lando has more than enough race starts to fuck his own championship before like his team's gonna do it for him. Like it'll be fine.
Yeah, I think we'll be in good shape here. We've got 21 points between them, I think, or 31 points between them here in the championship. So there is plenty of wiggle room with 8 races to go.
Damn. Time flies, man. We were just yesterday we were like 24 races is so many. Here we are at the Bahrain test and now we're like almost at the end of 2025. Holy heck, it's been a good year.
Time has flown. Yeah, two thirds of the way through the season now, through the Italian Grand Prix. So um, plenty of good racing to go. But did you have any other final notes here on the race weekend?
Let's see here. It was fun watching the Ferrari weekend. I thought Leclerc and Lewis, even though not being at the top of the pack, not being on the podium, I think the Tifosi just love getting out there and watching their team race in red. So it's just always fun to see the home crowd at the Italian races. Like it really is a different vibe. The party that they bring. So solid weekend for Ferrari. But yeah, just having that support out there must be crazy for them.
Yeah, and just seeing the stands flood the circuit as soon as it ends, like, and I'm not 100% sure, but I saw a clip of a video of like Max like running down the grid, and I couldn't tell if it was like trying to get to where he needed to be before the throngs of fans were just like swarming that area, or if it was just the excitement to run like to the team and celebrate. But yeah, seeing the scenes at the end of the Italian Grand Prix, um, big shout out to the Italian fans there, giving Max PTSD by singing the "Doot Doot Doot Doot" Max Verstappen over the national anthem is I think it's hilarious, and especially being such a flip up from a few years ago when they were booing him. So I think seeing well they just they're booing McLaren now. They're like, if it's not
Mm-hmm.
us winning the constructors championship, whoever's in the constructors championship lead is getting booed. And I just love the passion. It's fun.
Yeah, Max is a resident Tifosi until something changes.
Yeah, until it's Leclerc who he's battling there at the top again. I think they're cool with him for the meantime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so a fun podium, always fun to see the Italian crowds. Yeah, and I think gave Lewis and Leclerc a lot of energy on the weekend, so that's always fun to see.
Yeah, and especially for Lewis being his first like true Italian Grand Prix here in Monza and everything with the Tifosi, I think that's pretty cool. He was soaking it all in, and so uh, not not the weekend that I think the Ferrari fans would have dreamed of, but still a solid weekend overall for them, and especially in their fight there with Mercedes in the Constructors' Championship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, big time agree. Able to fight off the Mercedes a little more with those results. Russell only finishing P5, and Antonelli was out of the points. I'm pretty sure
P9.
after the penalty. Oh, okay, so he got like two
P9.
points or whatever.
Yep.
So yeah, definitely still battling there between the Mercs and the Ferraris, but it's probably going to be Ferrari P2 at the end.
Yeah, they've got a 20-point lead in the constructors over Mercedes, so it's still super tight. I mean, it just takes a couple of weird race weekends and someone falling out of the points and whatnot for that to close back up. But yeah, I think that's all I've got here for the Italian Grand Prix as well.
All right, so we were gonna do a All right, hold up. The winner of the Italian Grand Prix is Max Verstappen, followed by Oscar Piastri, followed by Lando Norris P3. That was our podium. We were going to do what?
You've
Did I flip it?
yeah, you flipped it. You said Oscar P2. He gave that up, bud.
Oh no, it was a Freudian slip. Okay, so the true podium is Oscar Piastri P2, Lando Norris P3. That's how history will remember it.
Well,
we're shutting brains down over here.
But yeah, then so yeah, Max, Lando, Oscar, finishing order there for the Italian Grand Prix. That's how it is in the record books. So we'll see if our memories betray us in future years. They might.
I'm sure they will. We were gonna end this. We were gonna end this episode with. We were gonna do a tiny pockets, but through just a little bit of talking, we decided we're just gonna end it on a different note here. So the League of Legends World Championship is coming up shortly. I think it's like 35 days. I've been watching the replays of previous Worlds tournaments. What that means is I've been thinking about the 2022 final. It's been living rent-free in my brain, like right in my forebrain, right? I've just been thinking about the DRX T1 Grand Final. It's just been living rent-free in my mind. And I was like, you know what? I wonder what me and Aaron thought of that match. So you know what I did? I went back into my notes and I cross-referenced dates, titles, and episodes, and I triangulated the episode that would have had our DRX T1 final conversation from 2022. If anybody
Okay.
is interested, it's episode 108 and it's at the back half of the episode. This is Justin from the past apologizing to you for just cutting you off in an obnoxious amount of times. But what I thought was really funny was our coverage of the final devolved so fast. We barely talked about any of the games individually. Like we started, we each got like 2 points onto game one, and then we were just off on tangents. I'm talking about like just unrelated things, right? Just so unrelated. We're getting in the weeds like over and over. And I just found it to be the funniest thing. I was like, this is just the most endearing thing. But I have to say, old tall and short episodes, unironically, very funny. Me and you have some very funny things to say. So going back and like listening to our coverage of the final, I was like, we've offered nothing to the conversation here. I was hoping to get some like back and forth, some insight, literally nothing. I'm talking past you, you're talking past me. I'm making points that are just the worst ever. You're like trying to follow and be like, okay, you know. But bro, we were having fun, that's for sure. And it was just so silly going back and like reading show notes and like seeing old like flavors of the week and things like
Oh
this.
gosh,
Because
yeah.
like, I mean, it's just real ones listening now. But dude, like we used to be a full on League of Legends show. Bro, we were having like full conversations. I've got page long notes about like, LPL finals and shit like that. I'm like, I just need the DRX final. I just need that one, right? Cause and then what I would have loved is like, oh man, what about when T1 wins in 2023? God damn it, we didn't get that far in 2023. I had to take a breather, an emotional rest break, right? So we weren't able to cover that final. But my lord, some of these old tall and short episodes are very, very funny if you know what you're looking for.
Oh man, I will have to go back because I can imagine. Oh, I can remember how in the weeds we would get sometimes, and just the pure amount of games that we were covering. I mean, we were talking about so many leagues that we had to switch to like just highlighting like one extra league per week basically and
Mm-hmm.
just talking about China and Korea and like the others were like, yeah, we'll talk a little bit about you. That was a ton of League of Legends, and that's a funny trip down memory lane.
The pure joy and excitement, like just oozing off of both of us after that final, though, it was palpable. Like going back and hearing like what we were like, what we were getting excited about. Bro, I was so tilted when we got to like talking about the culmination of it. I was like, bro, T1 just threw it. I couldn't even enjoy it. I was like, bro, what are you doing?
But looking back, that is how much we enjoyed it. Like we did, and because we spent the amount of time and thought and everything that we put um to the research and watching games and everything was I mean that's passion, man.
Passion
Uh,
and heart, and yeah, it was fun. So yeah, if anybody's curious, it's episode 108 of the tall and short of it. That was good times.
cool. Passion, heart, and maybe lack of experience with how to run a podcast a little bit.
Oh, I
We've
know.
we've
We
come a long
we're
way.
My lord, we are like ADHD incarnate, bro. We could not stick on a point. It's crazy.
Yeah, we definitely do a bit better having a structure in place. I think that helps the two of us quite a lot with putting out these episodes. But
Big
yeah,
time.
definitely a fun trip down memory lane. I'll have to go back and check out some of the notes that I have and everything for these episodes. Um, but yeah, any other final notes as we wrap out this week's episode here?
No, I just want to say that I'm very much looking forward to the Baku Grand Prix at Azerbaijan. I'm pretty sure it's like the weekend of September 19th, I believe it is. So I think
Yep.
we have a couple of weeks. So we'll have a couple of weeks off of the Tired Boys pod, but as always, there will be an episode after the Baku Grand Prix. We do an episode after every Formula One event. So just wanted to say thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for tuning in to the Italian Grand Prix episode. This has been another Tired Boys podcast. Peace out.
See you guys.